Hey guys. Hi everyone. So, welcome to McKellar Motivational Monday on a Wednesday. But I've been having some technical difficulties. Um, I was trying to do this earlier because in just a few minutes, I'm actually starting a live book signing. And here we go. Okay, I think the technical difficulties might have been resolved. So I want you guys, if you go to my Instagram or Twitter, hey there, I'm just talking to some people live. Then if you can see the link to join the book signing, if you click on in my bio, there's a link on Instagram and also Twitter, and I think Facebook too. If you go to the link tree, you'll see there is a link to sign up or just to join in with the live book signing. I'll be doing a chat about my books, and also there's an opportunity to get signed books. So actually, I'll be signing nameplates personally to you guys, and then they will mail them to you. They'll stick them in a book and mail them to you. So again, go to the link on my bio, both Twitter and Instagram, and you can also listen in here if you want. But if you want to get the signed book, then the way to go is definitely to click on that link in my bio. It's at Romans. Romans is the bookstore that's hosting it. Okay, let's see here. I will put on my headphones. So now over here, pretty soon, in just a couple minutes, and I'll talk to you guys for just a minute. Hi there, by the way, what's your name? Vera? Rira, nice to meet you. So do we have a couple minutes? I saw you that somebody wrote that we're running a couple minutes behind schedule. Do I have a minute to talk to these guys? Okay, cool. Hey, so how you guys all doing, by the way? Yes, and so signed books. I'll be signing nameplates. Hang on, I think I have them. Oh, they're over there. And I'll be signing them directly to you guys, so you can request your actual name or whatever. If there's a child in your life, the book, the new book these days that we're doing the book signing for is The Times Machine. This is for grades 2nd through 5th, or anybody really who's learning multiplication and division. There are tons of like cartoons, and hang on, there's some really fun things. It's kind of like a graphic novel way of teaching math, of teaching multiplication and division. So I just love the way this book looks. It's super fun and colorful. And this is the main book I'll be talking about. But I will be talking about all my books. You can see some of them behind me. I've been writing math books for like 13 years now. I've got books for ages 0 to 16, and they can all be found at McKellarMath.com. Most of them are for sale on the Romans website. If you click the link that I mentioned in my Instagram bio, my Twitter bio, if you click on those, it'll take you to this Romans live book signing that I'm doing right now. And you can buy many of my books there, your choice, and I'll be able to sign them for you. Just make sure you fill out the form. Well, you know what? I mean, a lot of people are buying them for their kids, their grandkids, nieces and nephews. Because let's face it, right now people are having to school at home across a lot of the country, and so I'm so glad that my books have been able to help so many of you guys. Oh, thank you so much, Kingpin. You have the book already? That's so cool. Thank you. Well, I love writing math books. I mean, I love math personally, and I love entertainment, so I love the idea of writing entertaining math books. This one back here, do not open this math book. It's for ages, it's like 1st and 2nd grade. It teaches addition and subtraction. But like I said, I've got books for all ages. You can see bath time, math time, shapes. You guys can't see it. There we go. Thank you, Dave. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, so I meant to do my McKellar Motivational Monday earlier than this, but I was trying to make sure I was getting set up because I couldn't figure out what was going on with the crowdcast. But anyway, guys, come over and join me. Click the link in my bio. If you're on Facebook, it's a little harder to get the bio link from Facebook. So if you find me on Instagram or Twitter, and I'm just at Danica McKellar, then you can click on the link and you can order an autographed book. Now, I don't know when the next time is that I'll be doing something like this. I don't know. Is it possible? It's possible, but I don't have anything currently scheduled. So if you're interested in getting a personalized signed book, I highly recommend that you come join us here. And again, I'll leave these on so you can see what I'm doing. But let's see, what is the address? Hang on, I want to like make a little note for people while I'm in the middle of talking and people are like joining in. Well, maybe I'll just from time to time. Hang on one second. Okay, here we go. Wait, Costa Rica. Costa Rica is a place that I want to go. I am actually really so excited about the idea of going there. My son is learning all about Costa Rica right now with an online homeschooling class that he's doing. I used to make book appearances in New York, yes, but lately with what's going on in the world, that's just not happening. Now we're doing everything virtually. So what is the best? Let's see, Crowdcast. So people, so it's Crowdcast. I'll hold this up for you guys so you can see crowdcast.io/e/times-machine. Okay, so here is the info if you don't want to go and click the link on my bios. You got the butterfly book for your grandkids? Oh, very cool. I look tired? Well, let's see. There's a lot of things that we're all juggling right now. I'm very tired, but also very excited to be doing this. Thank you so much, Adam. I don't think you, so Paulette, I think the only way to get an autographed copy of the book is to buy it through the Vroman's website. But if you've already bought a different book, then I didn't say this out loud, but you can always return it to wherever you got it from, or you can give that one as a gift or donate it to a library, because the books, all my books really do help kids with math. So it's a wonderful thing to donate if you can. All right, guys, let's see here. I think we're ready to get started. Yes? Just 5 minutes late, no big deal. Where's my little thing here? Okay. Turn up the light a little bit. Okay, so again, if you're wondering who I'm talking to, I'm not facing you guys anymore. This is the deal right here. This is where I'm going. So come join me over there. Okay. So are you going to be asking me questions or just want me to like just talk? And do you want me to do you want me to look at the questions myself and answer them throughout, or do you have questions that you want? No, no. Yeah, if there are questions that you want me to answer, then just, you know, jump in at any time. Yeah. Okay, good. Cool. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hey, thank you so much for joining on this virtual book signing in this brave new world we're in. Usually, I do real book signings. I go to bookstores and I get to meet you all in person and shake your hand and get a selfie and sign books for you. Luckily, Romans is being super generous and they are offering to handle the logistics of me signing personalized autographs for you. So at least we can do that part, and at least I can see your questions here and answer some of them as well. So, for those of you who are not familiar, I've been writing math books for a very long time, like 12, 13 years. They're all at mckellarmath.com. I now have books for ages 0 to 16. And what's really, really cool about the timing of this one, no pun intended, the time is machine. This is my 10th book, which is mind blowing to me, like 10 books. And with this book on multiplication and division, which is for ages 7 to 10, it's like basically second to fifth grade. Now, all my books cover the whole curriculum from 0 to 16. There are no more gaps. People say, oh, I've got an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old. I'm like, well, I'm coming up with a book soon, but I don't have one yet. Now, I'm really excited to be able to say, no matter how old your kid is, from 0 to 16, I have a book that can help you. And the great thing about the timing, of course, is that right now, parents are being put in this unprecedented situation where they are more responsible for their kids' education than ever before, and they're looking for resources. One of the things about my books is that they're really fun. And I think learning should be fun. I know it's not always fun for everyone, no matter what the subject is, in particular, math, because math has this reputation of being boring and too difficult and just for boys and all sorts of things, all sorts of stereotypes that I enjoy breaking myself. I love math. I love entertainment. And so I wanted to write entertaining math books for people, especially these days when the math looks different from how it did when we were growing up. One thing that parents say to me a lot is, I can't help my 7-year-old with her math homework. Like, what has happened? And I've been hearing this for years now, ever since Common Core. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Common Core, but in 2011, 2012, a lot of the math changed. So suddenly, there's a lot more pictures. So it's a lot more visual. It's breaking things down more. And while there's an upside to this, and there are good things about that, it's also more foreign looking. And the last thing math needs to be is more foreign looking, in my opinion. So do not open this math book, which is my first and second grade book, and the Times Machine, which is really like second through fifth grade with multiplication and division. And both of them, at the back of the book, there's something called the New Math Translation Guide for Grown-ups. Because a lot of the vocabulary is different, a lot of the ways they're doing things is different, and I want to make sure that, like, my goal is just, let's make this accessible, fun, doable. If kids can have fun and be giggling while they're learning, then we've already won half the battle, because now they're engaged, and that's what we want. And these days, with all the schooling at home, one of the major issues is, how do I keep my kids engaged in what they're learning? How do I keep them focused? So I was like, well, okay, let's do cartoons, and let's just have a lot of cartoons and have Mr. Mouse. So we got Mr. Mouse and Miss Squirrel, and then there's the Danica cartoon, that's me. And they go on time travel adventures. So they go all over the world. They have a times machine that brings them to different places in history and time. Like they go to ancient Rome and they learn about how to tell the difference between rows and columns. One of the ways they're teaching multiplication these days is with arrays. And they've been doing it for a while now. And an array is basically just a rectangle of objects. And I don't know about you guys, but I remember when I was little, and I wasn't even learning about arrays, but just the general idea of rows versus columns. How do you remember which is which? So they go on a journey to ancient Rome where they have the buildings with the tall columns. And so that's kind of how you remember that that's the columns. And then back then they didn't have motorized boats. So they had these oars that stuck out and they were rowing, and those are the rows, and they stick out to the side. So that's their adventure to ancient Rome. And they go to all sorts of places and throughout history. Of course, dinosaurs, obviously. But one of the things that I'm most excited about with this book is not just that it's super fun and they meet people like Jane Goodall and stuff. I have like these little mini history tidbits throughout just to make it more fun. But also, there's a whole section in the middle of the book. I call it the core of the times machine, where I have taken all the multiplication facts, and for any of the ones that are at all difficult, like anything with the fours, the sixes, the sevens, the eights, I have a story, like a cartoon, a poem, something like that, where everybody's saying it's backwards. I know that's how these cameras are, right? It's backwards, but just use your imagination or take a screen grab. If you want to see something that's backwards, like this, you guys, if you want to join, take a screen grab of it. And then on your phone, you should be able to flip it if you can do that. I don't know, maybe that's complicated. Anyway, so I'm really, really excited because when I was learning my multiplication tables, it was so boring. It was just like, just here's a list of facts and you just got to memorize them. And I thought, well, how could I make, how could I make the most dry, boring things the most interesting, the most fun? And that's what I've been doing. And so that's what I did writing this book. I mean, writing all my books has been like that. I'll share one of them with you guys here. This, and some of you might have heard it because I've talked about this on various talk shows and things. It's one that was inspired by my son, actually. He's 9 years old because he loves fart jokes. And I mean, most kids, most boys, especially, but kids in general, like they really like fart jokes a lot. And so if you can use a fart joke to help memorize one of your multiplication facts, I think you're in good shape. Here goes. 6 times 7 is 42. So this is one of the more difficult ones to learn. The numbers are a little bit bigger. 6 times 7 is 42. Imagine that Mr. Mouse, who loves cheese, because what mouse doesn't love cheese? He loves cheese, though, so much that he, imagine a big 6-sided block of cheese, a big cube of cheese, 6 sides, right? A big cube. He eats a huge 6-sided block of cheese every day for 7 days. Yes, the entire week. 7 days nonstop with a 6-sided block of cheese, 6 times 7. Well, at the end of the week, he is pretty full and farty too. Full and farty too. So, I'm sorry, but if you are a kid and you are learning your multiplication facts or something like this, you're not going to forget them. So that's why I'm so extremely excited about this particular book, because I'm doing something that I've never actually seen before. Oh, it's not backwards for you, Patty? Oh, that's great. Deborah, too. Ah, people on Facebook and Instagram are seeing it backwards. Yes. Somebody on Facebook is saying that they were surprised that the math looks so unrecognizable. And it's true. But I'm here to help. I am here to help. And Do Not Open This Math Book and The Times Machine are 2 books that really bridge the gap. I'll do problems, for example, both ways. I'll show how they're learning it now, and I'll show what we did growing up, which is interesting. Typically, the way they teach it is they'll teach it the more complicated, newer way that really shows you the sort of nuts and bolts of what's going on. And then they'll graduate the kids to, well, here's a shortcut. And then they'll teach it the way that we did it. So I teach both ways, and I'll show how it's really the same thing. It just looks different. It's just that it's been dressed up differently. It's been pulled apart and analyzed a little bit more in the new way they're doing it. But it's really all the same stuff. So I do that a few times throughout these books. Oh, good. Yeah, so stream is running. Oh, some people are getting it frozen. Yes, refresh your page. So some people like to know, like if we were in a real book signing and I were taking questions, somebody would say, oh, by the way, I see, there's 15 questions down here. Well, before I get to that question, I'll answer a question that people usually ask, which is, how did I get into this in the first place? After all, I'm an actress. I was on a show called The Wonder Years growing up. I played Winnie Cooper, a very successful career. I took a break from all that and decided to get a degree in mathematics from UCLA. But how did I even, did I always love math? You know what, let me just see what the questions are. See if there's, yes, when did I figure out my love for math? Asked Brendan. How did I feel when I got chosen to play Winnie Cooper? Okay. I'll try to get to as many of these questions as I possibly can. Yes. How did I find my love of math? All right. First of all, in the 7th grade. So this book, Math Doesn't Suck, is for like 6th and 7th grade, I would say. well, mostly sixth grade, but it's middle school. Is that time when math starts getting kind of confusing and it's not straightforward. It's not straightforward memorization of multiplication, division, and sort of like here's the process and here's what you do. It gets more complicated. Math Doesn't Suck is written about the time in life when we start wondering who we are. Like we go from being little kids running around on the playground to really having questions about our identity and self-esteem and all sorts of things. That life gets more complicated. In fact, that's why the Wonder Years was made about that era in life, because life has gotten more complicated and it's more confusing. We got hormones rushing through our bodies. Anyway, in the seventh grade, I really hit a stumbling block with math. I was absolutely terrified. I thought that I didn't know what I was doing anymore. I thought I was stupid. As it turns out, midway through the year, a new teacher came in and suddenly the same exact topics that had completely confused me, they made sense. Suddenly they made sense. Suddenly I got it. And I was blown away by the fact that it wasn't me. I just assumed it was me. I assumed that I was the problem when maybe it just wasn't being translated in a way that worked for me. And that's the truth is, math is a language. It is. It's got symbols and rules and punctuation and all sorts of things. We write math sentences. We tell story problems. And if that language is not translated in the right way for your kid, it's going to remain foreign and scary. And that's I really discovered that when I was in the seventh grade. I didn't know that later on in life I'd be translating it for other kids, but I did know that suddenly I understood it. And I loved it. I loved the feeling of the challenge of math. And as I went through middle school and high school, I tended to take the more difficult math classes. I liked that challenge. And then when I got to UCLA, the Wonder Years had ended just a few months before I graduated from high school. I got to UCLA and I'm thinking, okay, all right, next phase of my life, what's next for me? At the time I decided I was going to be a film major. I was going to learn more about the other side of the camera, writing, directing, all that kind of stuff. And I got to UCLA. I took a few classes, had a few trimesters. The last trimester, I decided to take a math class because my brain felt like it was getting mushy. And I identified a sharp brain with doing something like math. So I decided to take a class, but I was nervous. I was really nervous about taking a college math class. I just thought that math in college would be somehow much more difficult, and definitely for like other people, not for me, for some sort of math planet people. I don't know who I thought would be good at college math, but I didn't think I would. And the weird part about that is that, and I almost didn't take a math class because of it. The weird part is that I graduated at the top of my class in high school, and I had gotten a 5 on the AP Calculus BC exam, which is the hardest calculus exam you can take in high school. And I got the highest score you can get, but I didn't believe that I'd be good at math. And that's one of the crazy things about math ability is that that's right, yeah. Kinetic Cover, you had a similar experience? Yeah. And my perception of myself almost held me back. Well, I got to the class. I studied so hard for that class. I studied all my high school calculus notes, which yes, I still had because I'm that girl who was like a super nerd, really like loved calculus, loved math, and so I saved all my notes. I studied all my notes. I studied so hard for the class. First midterm comes up, and I was like, I tanked it. I failed it. I failed the test. I got a 22 out of 40, which I assumed was a really bad score. Turns out it was some sort of a Weider test. And the reason I know this is because the teacher, the professor, graphed the scores on the chalkboard. Didn't say names, but there was a 22. I was the only one who got a 22. Then there were 2 people who got 15. And then the rest was 9 and below. This is a class of about 160 people or so. I was floored. I couldn't believe that I gotten a high score. And it was actually a really pivotal moment for me because I had always been this actress, and as a child actor, you hear stories about child actors and all the insecurities, and it's true because you don't know what your value is if you didn't have that character that you played, and you begin to question it once your show is over. You're like, well, who would I be if I didn't have this? Because everywhere I went, every day, and let's face it, it's still true, but everywhere I went, people would say, "Oh, aren't you that girl who played Winnie? Aren't you from TV?" And the next day after that midterm, somebody tapped me on the shoulder in that math class and said, "Excuse me, aren't you that girl?" And I was sure that he was going to say from TV or who played Winnie. And he said, "Where's that girl who got the 22?" And that moment for me was so huge. It was a defining moment for me, and I realized that I could find my value, my self-worth from something other than this TV show that I'd done. And I decided to, at that point, I decided to be a double major. I was going to double major in film and math. And then I ended up dropping film. But you know what? I can study film later if I want to. Right? I'll never go back and study math again. But I threw myself into math 1,000%. And I really shouldn't say things like 1,000% being a math person. 100%. I threw myself into math 100% and really just absorbed it. And I quit acting for 4 years, and I just focused on my brain and just getting into like the beauty of the numbers and the challenge of it. That math high that you get when you think you can't do a problem and you finally discover how to do it, and you feel amazing. And that's what I love giving to kids. You know, I want them to be like, "Oh, I finally get it. Oh, she just explained it in a way that I didn't see in my class, and now I get it." You know, I love that. I get emails from you guys. I get DMs. I get messages in all sorts of forms on social media with this same story again and again. And I can't tell you how much I love it. It never gets old. I love hearing about it from you guys. I know how great it feels to finally understand a math concept that's been bugging me or haven't gotten, and finally I get it. I know that feeling like it happened yesterday. And so I love the feeling that I can give that to you guys now. You don't want your daughter to feel like you felt in school. You were a B student in advanced math. Yeah, see, somebody told you that you were stupid. That's just criminal. That's just horrible. I can't stand that. Um, oh, Joey. I wish these books were around when I was in school. I struggled, especially in seventh grade. I used to cry. I was to come home and cry because I was afraid of my math homework. I was just, I was a wreck. I mean, and my parents were so bewildered. They were like, "Danica, you just try your best. That's all we care about." And like, I would come home and I was just so worried and insecure because I felt like I couldn't do it. And you know what, for me, my goal in writing all these books, and you're seeing, I've got 10 books. This is the 10 Times Machine is my 10th book. My goal is not necessarily to turn everyone into math majors who go on to use math and STEM in their career in life, although there are a lot more high paying jobs available in technology and STEM fields if you do have a solid foundation in math. Let's not forget that. But my goal is that kids feel confident and know they can do it. They might not love math, but it's like, but I can totally do it. I totally got it. And might it inspire a love in math or STEM for some of the kids? Yeah, I experienced that. I went from being afraid of it to loving it, and now it's my career. It's one of my two careers. So that's my goal, is to make kids feel confident. Show them they can do it. Show them it can be fun. It is a language and it can be translated, you know, using graphic novel cartoons and fun poems. And then, of course, one of my goals for this particular book is helping kids to memorize their multiplication facts, which is a simple but very, very important foundational aspect of math and success in math. Because if you don't know your times tables, then you will not be able to reduce a fraction. You won't be able to factor expressions the same way. And it's something you got to do. And these days, with all the schooling at home that's happening, for some parents who might not feel confident in the ability to explain complicated mathematical concepts to their kids, they can say, "You know what we're going to do though? We're going to use this time to memorize your multiplication facts. And it doesn't have to be boring. It can be fun." I also want to direct you guys to my website. Well, there's mckellarmath.com. That has all my books that I've written so far, but also thetimesmachine.com. So this book's website, thetimesmachine.com. On that website, if you go to the section that says stuff promised in book, one of the things, if you scroll down, is all the multiplication facts. I had them made so you can cut them out and put them on your bathroom mirror. One of the best ways to memorize something, beyond having super fun stories and cartoons and 6 times 7 is far too two and all that, even beyond that, is having all of them, like say for a couple of weeks at a time, just post 5 or 6 or whatever, or maybe for a week at a time, and you see it every day. Brushing your teeth, you see it every day. So I have them there. It's a free resource. You don't have to pay anything. It's super available to anybody, whether you have the book or not. Although it does have the characters on there if you have the book, so it's more fun that way. But again, thetimesmachine.com, and they're free multiplication facts for anybody. Some parents tell you that they don't believe in memorization. That's interesting. Well, it's kind of like saying you don't believe in learning vocabulary. Knowing your multiplication facts is foundational to a fluency in math. It's foundational to having a fluency in math, and it can be fun. Finally, it can be fun. I sound like an advertisement now, but I'm so excited about the fact that I made them goofy and fun. Okay, let's take a look. You want to ask the book tonight? What I was taking? All right, let's see here. Actually, you're a teacher, you homeschool your 8.5 and 10-year-old daughters, Robin? Oh, that's very cool. Well, this is for the 8.5-year-old. For the 10-year-old, this, but also she's kind of on the cusp of this and Math Doesn't Suck. Math Doesn't Suck teaches fractions, decimals, percents, proportions, very early stages of solving for X, kind of like the concept of it. All right, let's see. Well, this is a good one. What would you say to kids who say they hate math and struggle with things like memorizing the multiplication tables? Do I have any tips or tricks you can share? Yes. I have a feeling you asked that question before I explained it. But again, for all of the multiplication facts, I've got a colorful strip. And for the ones that aren't like super easy to learn, like, 1 times 2 or whatever, I have stories and poems and things. And then, yes, I also recommend taping multiplication facts to your bathroom mirror, to your child's bathroom mirror, so that he or she sees them every morning and they're just around. It just gets in their brain. And if you go to thetimesmachine.com, you can print out free ones. If you go to Stuff Promised in Book and scroll down, you'll see it says multiplication facts. I have extra practice on the website. And then also, if you keep scrolling, you'll see the multiplication facts. You teach high school math, Robert? Very cool. I have a book for algebra called Hot X, Algebra Exposed, and then I have a geometry book. Oh, here it is. Girls Get Curves, Geometry Takes Shape. I'm not sure if these books are on the Romans website or not, but they are available. Okay, let's see. What is the most memorable compliment I've received from my young readers? Well, the most amazing compliment that I ever got was from a young woman who had read my books. In fact, Math Doesn't Suck, and then Kiss My Math. This is the 7th, 8th grade book. It's pre-algebra. Did I just adjust my thing? Yeah, I did. And this young woman came up to me at a book signing years ago, and she said, probably 3 years ago, she said to me that she had been really afraid of math, and that she got Math Doesn't Suck and Kiss My Math, and I don't remember if she got the books after that or not. But she said that she went from being terrified of math to loving math, and that she just accepted a job at NASA. I was just in tears. I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, wow. I mean, anyway, I don't know if you consider that a compliment or not, but I was, that I will never forget that. How many books have I written, and are they all educational? I've written 10 books. The Times Machine is the new one is my 10th book, unbelievably. Are they all educational? Most of them actually teach math, but there are some that are like, they're fun, they're cute, and they have some math snuck in. So 10 Magic Butterflies, for example, is a book about, this is for little kids. It's a book about 10 flowers that wish they could fly because they watch the fairies flying. And one of the fairies grants one of them the power to fly and turns the little flower into a butterfly. And then the next night, then another flower wants to be turned into a butterfly. So you learn all the different ways of making 10, because there's 10 flowers, and then there are 9 flowers and 1 butterfly. And then there are 8 flowers and 2 butterflies. And then there are 7 flowers and 3 butterflies. And then it ends up becoming a story about how they realize they really miss being flowers. And it's about, yes, sometimes we wish for different things, but let's appreciate who we are. And it's a really sweet book, very beautiful illustrations. So it's a picture book that sneaks in some math. When I hear people saying things like math is for boys, how do I respond to that person? Well, nobody's ever said that to my face. I don't think that conversation would go very well. But what I will say is that it's about role modeling. And so in like the Times Machine, For the cartoons, it's a mouse and a squirrel and the Danica cartoons. So little girls are seeing a woman being the one who's teaching the math, and maybe that gets in a little. Certainly, some of the older kids' books, like Girls Get Curves, Geometry Takes Shape. Clearly, I'm really aiming it towards girls. Boys use these books too. In fact, a friend of mine's 15-year-old son just was using this book, and I got a very grateful email back from her saying, "I can't believe my son did not understand proofs, and now he understands how to do geometry proofs." And yeah, it was a boy. Okay, let's see here. In addition to this new release, do I have any other upcoming books in the works? Yes, I am working on a book right now that's coming out in 2022. These books take a long time. It's a picture book, and I am not supposed to say a lot about it, but it'll be kind of like 10 Magic Butterflies, where it's a fun story that has a math concept that's throughout, that's in there. It's in there, but it's like if you don't want to learn any math, it's not forced on you at all. It's just in there. How do you get kids excited about math, especially when many kids will be home this fall, homeschooling and distance learning for the first time, if math is not your strong point? Well, what I say to parents is, if you don't understand the math that they're doing, especially if your kids are younger, and if you weren't good at math when you were young, please don't tell them that you weren't good at math. Please don't say things like, "Oh, honey, I don't know. I didn't know how to do it when I was young either." That's not good for them. It's setting the bar low, and you are their biggest role model. So what I would say is, if your child needs help in math and you are not able to do it, just instead say, "You know what, sweetie, it looks different from how it was when I was growing up, but let's figure it out together. Let's get resources and figure it out." And again, I've got books for ages 0 to 16 at mckellarmath.com, and my whole goal is making it fun. My whole thing is, how do I make this math really fun, legitimately fun, for all ages. During my UCLA math days, was I also taking electives in science, specifically physics? I've heard you speak before about being equally excited about that area, and the Shays-Mckellar-Wynn theorem is applied statistical mechanics of magnets. Okay, so when I was at UCLA, I'm not sure how interesting this is to everybody listening, but I actually really struggled with physics. So I did physics and statistical mechanics of magnets are kind of very the physics that was in the theorem that I co-authored. So when I was at UCLA, I helped to prove a new theorem in math. It was applied math, and the area that it was applied in was statistical mechanics. But it was very mathy. It wasn't a lot of physics. It wasn't like, here's a pulley, here's a spring, and here's a electrical circuit. It wasn't like that. So it didn't look recognizably like physics to me. Physics, however, is something that I did minor in at UCLA, but not because I liked it, but because it was so difficult for me. I don't know why, but while math was challenging, but I felt like I could do it. Physics, it wouldn't get in. It wouldn't sink in. I was so stubborn about it. I said, you know what? I'm going to minor in physics because I'm not going to let this thing beat me. But I'd be in freshman and sophomore physics while taking these graduate level courses in math as a junior or senior in UCLA. And I'd be in the tutoring hours. I'd be in all the tutoring hours for physics, trying to figure it out. Meanwhile, I was a tutor in calculus. So it was very strange, and just a little insight into the stubbornness of my personality. I ordered Math Doesn't Suck. My son is going into 7th grade. How can that book help him? Some schools are teaching different things in math. Will this help him with all parts of math for this grade? Yes, and here's why. Math Doesn't Suck teaches fractions, decimals, percents, proportions, factors, stuff that is absolutely foundational to pre-algebra. So no matter what they're doing, this is a part of it. This is a huge part of it, and will definitely help. So I'm really glad to hear that you got that book. Someone says, my daughter is obsessed with math and is going into 4th grade, but she's closer to a 5th grade math level. Would you still suggest this book for her? 5th grade. Yes, because here's the thing. Does she have her multiplication facts down cold? Does she know them totally? And is she incredibly comfortable with long division? If she like can do long division, no problem, and she knows all her multiplication facts like easily, then she is beyond this book. And then I would suggest Math Doesn't Suck. But if there's any hesitation, or if she's still kind of learning long division, or still learning multiplying like a 2-digit number by a 2-digit number, if she's still a little shaky on any of those, then this will really help to solidify that stuff as she moves forward. The best one of my math books for a precocious, creative, dramatic 5-year-old girl. Well, she would probably really like 10 Magic Butterflies. It doesn't teach a lot of math. It only teaches the different ways of making 10 from 2 numbers, but she'd probably really like it. But if you want something that teaches her something especially as she turns 6, do not open this math book. Speaking of precocious, I mean, it's a little reverse psychology there, but this is for 1st and 2nd grade. And it teaches addition and subtraction, but it starts off with 10 frames and it uses cartoons. And Mr. Mouse does not like math and is not having it. And the Danica cartoon has to keep saying, come on, Mr. Mouse, let's do this. So it's really fun to like have to have the kid read Mr. Mouse and have the parent read the Danica cartoon in this one. So, I mean, I recommend both, but you'll see, now you know the difference between the two. You know which one is more for just entertainment and fun and which one actually teaches math. What's the best book for parents? Whatever book is the age of your kids, whatever book your kids are learning. But if you want, whatever level your kids are learning at, if you want to brush up on math for you in life, then I recommend Math Doesn't Suck, because that one teaches the real world math stuff, like fractions and decimals and proportions. Proportions is something that I use all the time. If I'm doing something in Photoshop, I'm trying to figure out how long should it be, if it's this tall compared to the original. Or anyway, there's lots of very practical math tips and strategies and techniques, skills in Math Doesn't Suck. Leaving a tip, I don't know, you name it, that's in there. And by the way, in all of my books, all of my middle school books, Math Doesn't Suck, Kiss My Math, I use examples about how that thing might come up in real life. So for exponents, in Kiss My Math, for example, I use an example of if your friend had a really cute kitten video, or if you have a really cute kitten video and you send it to 5 of your friends, and each of them send it to 5 of their friends. If they do this every 5 minutes, how long would it take to get to 1 million people or whatever? Like, I do examples like that because in this day and age of social media and viral videos, then that's interesting, and that's exponents. So I make sure, because when I was in the 4th grade, I remember asking my teacher, when would I ever use this in real life? And it was long division, I think it was. And he said, well, if you were going to be a math teacher, that was probably the worst answer he could have possibly given me, because I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, so what's this crazy, weird cycle that we have where you learn math to become a math teacher, to teach you math to kids, they learn math to become a math teacher? I thought, okay, no way. So Math Doesn't Suck, Kiss My Math, for fractions, for decimals, for exponents, for negative numbers, anything. I show how this comes up in real life because of that one experience that I had. See, everything happens for a reason. Your grandchildren are under 2. You're under 2 years old. Okay, so I recommend. Oops, my books are falling in. For the youngest kids, I would recommend like Bath Time, Math Time, Shapes, and Goodnight Numbers. And Goodnight Numbers. These are the 2 that I would recommend for the youngest kids. So Goodnight Numbers teaches counting to 10 and shows how it shows things to count on every page. So on the 3 page, there's a ton of stuff to count that are 3. On the 4 page, there's tons of things to count that have 4 of them. I had a lot of fun writing this book, and I also made sure in this book that I represented both moms and dads. It's always one child and one parent. Moms and dads, daughters and sons, and as many different ethnic combos as I could manage on the 10 pages. Because I just like the idea that kids, there's one page at least where a kid goes, Mommy, that's us, or Daddy, that's us. And so that's Goodnight Numbers. This was my first little kid book. And then Bath Time, Math Time, Shapes teaches the attributes of shapes to little kids, but it's not just 2D shapes, it's also 3D shapes, which I hadn't really seen, and distinguishing between the two, because when Draco, my son, was little, and he'd have a book and there would be a ball and it would say circle. I'm like, that's not a circle. That's a sphere. Draco, this is not a circle. Just remember that. So your child will not be confused about the difference between a circle and a sphere with this book. So it's a really sweet book, Bath Time, Math Time, Shapes. There's also a regular Bath Time, Math Time. It's actually for slightly older kids. It takes you from the idea of counting to early addition. Yeah. The best way to help a middle schooler understand math if you don't understand it. I recommend Math Doesn't Suck. Read it yourself with your child, and you guys will both have a lot of fun understanding about factors and then fractions and equivalent fractions. Your 8.5-year-old daughter, Bella, who's watching me right now, hi, Bella, wants to know how long it took me to write The Times Machine. Well, I've been writing The Times Machine, I believe, since early 2016. I believe it was January of 2016 when I started writing it. These books take a long time because first you write the first draft, and that's, it's hundreds of pages long, and at every stage I'm thinking, okay, how do I make this one thing really fun? And I might spend all night trying to think of how I'm going to make, 6 times 8 like fun. Like, what's interesting about that? What can I do that's this cool story that involves something with 6 and something with 8 and really make this fun and alive? And then so you write everything out, and then you write all the descriptions of what you want the illustrator to do on every single page. I mean, it's incredibly time consuming. And then the editor gets it and she reads through it and makes notes and suggestions. And you go back through and you look at her suggestions. I like that idea. Maybe I'll keep that one the same though. And then you do all that. Then the illustrator gets involved and starts sending sketches, and you start giving approvals and giving notes on that. And then it has to get printed. It's like this very, very long. Mintagers. Yes, Ray. Mintagers is in Kiss My Math. So that's one of the examples of how to make something really boring interesting. Integers, as I say in this book, it's got to be one of the most boring words in math vocabulary that I can think of. Integers. It sounds so sterile and just horrible. So I said, well, we're not going to talk about integers because that's awful. Let's talk about mintegers. And then positive mintegers are the ones that taste good in your mouth, and negative mintegers, which are negative numbers, by the way, are the ones like those Harry Potter flavored jelly beans, like boogers and snot, like horrible, like vomit, whatever those awful, awful flavors of jelly beans are. So the idea is you put a positive mintager in your mouth and a negative mintager, and they can cancel each other out. They can neutralize each other. And then there's the zero, which is the most boring mintager, also called the lintager, because it has no taste, much like lint. Anyway, I have a lot of fun coming up with these different ideas for how to make boring things fun. Okay, let's see what else. Have I ever seen an iPad app that works well for kids who are more interested in learning with the iPad and not a book? Well, I mean, my books are all ebooks. They're all available, so you can read it on an iPad for sure. Special needs 9-year-old? Well, it depends on how special needs he or she is. So Do Not Open This Math Book is for addition and subtraction. So if he or she is still working on addition and subtraction, then I recommend this book. This is just like the Times Machine. It's got tons of fun cartoons and things, and I've heard a lot of really great reports back about from special needs kids where they because it's conversational and with stories and things, it can tend to be a little easier to digest. So that's, there's kitties. You're stretching kitties. Again, I have so much fun coming up with interesting and colorful ways to describe mathematical concepts. But if your 9-year-old is learning multiplication now, then I definitely recommend the Times Machine, because this is key to learning your multiplication tables. Let's see. You are welcome, Bella. Games and activities in this book. Games and activities. There are a few activities in Do Not Open This Math Book. But it's there's poems and cartoons and stuff in the Times Machine. I wouldn't call anything necessarily an activity. But like in terms of games, I mean, the problem sets, they're all called game time. Does that count? I don't know. You're buying both? Oh, cool. Yes, factoring is a big deal, Greg. Yes, and factoring, you can't factor if you don't know what the factors are. And the only way to know the factors is to know your multiplication facts. You minored in physics too? Sunny says, just tried to buy several of the books on the website, but it froze. Oh, technology, I tell you. You're welcome. Let's see what else. You got a lot of my books to your nieces and nephews, Brandy. Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. Oh yeah, so the flashcards, yeah, Sharon. My pleasure. So like she's saying, the flashcards at thetimesmachine.com, there are free flashcards you can download and print, and then you can say, okay, this week I'm going to learn my sixes, and you can cut them out and put them on bathroom mirror, and every morning you'll see all the different six facts and start to sink in. In the movie where I did the pie song, do I really know that? Well, I used to know the song really well. I could sing you a little of it now. I wrote the song. I wrote this song about pie, and I didn't really write the. Well, yeah, there are lyrics. There are lyrics that I wrote for it. 139 digits of pi. Let's see. What's that? Sing a little battery. Oh. Um, yes. So I wrote this. Is this plugging in now? What's going on? Again with the technology happening over here. Okay, so right. So I wrote a pie song. And I wrote it for a show, a little webisode show that I did called Math Bites. If you're interested, go to see them, go to mckellarmath.com. And then if you click on fun links, you'll see a whole bunch of videos. And one of the videos that you'll see is me in this music video, for lack of a better way to describe it, all about pie. And I called it Dance of the Sugar Pie Fairy because I wrote it to the tune of Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. Here's a little bit of the song. Pi is equal to 3.141592653589793238462 then 433-832-7950288-419-71693-993-75105. Anyway, so there's 139 digits total. But I'm a little rusty on it, so. Okay, are there any questions that you would like me to answer? Yes. If I were going to write any books that weren't about math or making math fun, it would probably be some sort of like a self-esteem book for girls. I mean, that kind of stuff's been done before, but one of the things that is so striking to me about math is how connected it is to self-esteem in girls, and that's made me learn more about it and sort of think a lot more about self-esteem and about self-image. And in today's world with social media, there's so much pressure on kids and girls especially to look a certain way. Anyway, I might do something in that, but I really feel like I can really do a lot of good and really help a lot of parents and kids right now, especially. And I like focusing on something that I know I can do the most good. There's probably some psychologists out there that has a better perspective on the self-esteem thing. But what I can do is I can help kids find self-esteem through getting good at sharpening their brains through math. Thank you. Oh, okay. Let's see. Yeah, because somebody has already sort of answered without realizing it, without meaning to. how long does it take me to write my books, and how do I decide which topic I'm going to do for each age group? Well, so each book takes well over a year to write. Some of them more because of the illustrator. Like Math Doesn't Suck, there really isn't an illustrator. There's an illustrator I hired to do little drawings, and I would stick them in, but that's different. So Math Doesn't Suck probably only took about a year. And same with Kiss My Math took less time. Kiss My Math, they said, hey, Math Doesn't Suck is selling crazy good numbers. We really want to follow up next year with a book. So I basically had 5 months to write an entire book. That was a very interesting time in my life. But Kiss My Math is actually one of my two favorites. Kiss My Math and The Times Machine are my two favorite books. Somebody else asked that question. So it's kind of funny. Sometimes when you do it quickly, it's because it's just you're just in you're in the vein, you're in the flow. How do I decide which topic I'm going to do for each group? So generally speaking, math leads from A to B to C to D. It's cumulative, and there's an order to it. What I did for when I wrote Math Doesn't Suck, I said, okay, what are all the core middle school topics that lead to pre-algebra, that lead to algebra? So what I didn't cover in Math Doesn't Suck is like how to find the area of a circle, because it's tangential to moving forward in algebra and pre-algebra in some ways. So I covered all of geometry in one book. In Girls Get Curves, Geometry Takes Shape. But in Math Doesn't Suck, Kiss My Math, and Hot X, those books are all the pre-algebra to algebra track. And it's everything that you need to know in those subjects. We do the quadratic formula. And so the way I would make sure that I'm covering everything is by getting multiple textbooks on those topics and cross-referencing and making sure that I didn't miss anything that was really important. So these books are very cumulative, and they cover everything you need to know. I certainly do. Well, I only have one. I've got a 9-year-old, and yes, he is using my books. He's 9. He's almost 10, and we just started Hot X Algebra Exposed. We just started the 8th grade algebra book, and I'm trying not to push him too fast, but he really does like math, and he's good at it, and it's hard to slow down. So yeah, but yeah, he went through all of Math Doesn't Suck, all of Kiss My Math, and the Times Machine. I was kind of when I was writing this book, when I was first writing it, is when he was doing that level, and so I actually experimented with the stuff on him that went into the book. So when I teach 2x2 multiplication, when it's written in the normal way, you've got a 2-digit number and then another 2-digit number, and you start with the units and you multiply up here and then there, and then start with this guy. I said, well, let's pretend these are little like little cowboy kitties, and she's gonna rope this number, and then she's gonna rope that number, and then it's the next kitty's turn. She's gonna rope that one, and then rope that one. And so and that was something that I just made up with him, and that went into the Times Machine. So. What I'm most proud of in my latest book is, I have to just pick one thing. It's really helping kids learn their multiplication tables. I mean, yes, I'm proud of the fact that I can help parents with the new math translation guide for grown-ups at the end of the book, helping parents navigate between how we learn stuff and how they're teaching stuff now. But the main thing and then there's the time travel, and the Times Machine is really fun, integrating little history lessons and somehow making it relevant to the math in fun, silly, goofy ways. But the fact that I can help kids to learn their multiplication facts with humor, with cartoons, with giggles. Because let's face it, you can't be stressed or bored if you're laughing. So that's what I'm most proud of, is that I can help kids to finally memorize their multiplication facts in a fun way and check that off the list. Because I hear stories of 7th, 8th graders that are still struggling with it, and it's not their fault. There's not a lot of time in classrooms these days for that kind of thing. So that's what I'm most proud of. Thank you for having me. Bye. Okay, guys. So that was my live virtual book signing. Ah, how's this going? Yeah, something's going on with Facebook here. And we'll end that. Thanks, everybody. How you guys doing? You wish you had my books when you were growing up? Well, yeah, me too, actually. I wrote books that I wish that I'd had when I was growing up because I was afraid of math. I mean, thank you very much, Cassie. Appreciate it. All right, so I think you can still go to the website and wait a sec. I think you can still go to the website and order a signed book. I think I'm going to verify that though, because that would be cool. You can still do that. Let me see. Okay, let me try myself and see if it works. Yes, purchase your book here. Okay, great. So you can still. Oh, you can actually watch it. Oh, not yet. Yeah, so I think I might start a new broadcast here to do a more proper, like, motivational talk because that one was it was so short before I had to go live that I couldn't really do it. So I think I'll do that. All right, guys, you're awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm gonna end this and do an actual motivational Monday now. So, um, thanks, and thank you to everybody who has been sending me copies, not copies, but pictures of your kids with my books because I just love that. It's just the best. Bye.